Hello, and welcome back to Factorio. I am Dorthak, and this is episode 4 of the Factorio 0.17 walkthrough tutorial Let's Play, whatever you want to call it. The last time we were together, we accomplished a fair amount. We got the game installed and set up. We built some basic production of iron and copper plates. We have 8 iron smelters and 4 copper smelters going, with the drill upgraded to the electric ones from our previous burner drills. We're still producing a little bit of coal with burner drills, but our main coal is being generated with electric drills, where it is being fed to a power plant. We have electricity up, we have 4 sets of boilers and steam engines, and we have some basic assembler facilities up. Most importantly, we are doing red science in an automated fashion, with the assembler building science specs and feeding them to the 2 labs. And we also have a automated production of belts, inserters, and assembly machines. Right now, all of this is running off chests. We are going to work on improving that in this episode. Before we actually get started, there's a couple of administrative items I wanted to mention. In the description of this video, there will be a link to a Google Doc that itself will contain links to many other useful resources, including another Google Doc that will have a outline of what we're doing here. Most of the tutorials for Factorio out there are video. I know some people prefer written tutorials. I'm not really up for writing a complete written tutorial, but the outline is at least a guide so that if you're playing this game after watching the videos, you can, rather than having to rewatch everything, you can use the outline to remind yourself of where to go and what to do. I wanted to show one more capability right now, and that's the console. If you press the tilde button by default, it will bring up a command console. This allows you to do all sorts of things, some of which are cheats and will disable your achievements. But what I really want to do right now is change the color of my guy. The default color is this kind of beige, which I find disappears against the background. So if you type /color and then the name of a color, you can change the color. I am a big fan of using red because it's visible. It's much easier to spot your character on the map. So, with that being said, let's get started. So the next thing we want to do is build the capability to assemble more things. We're not ready to build our main base yet, but we are ready to start getting there. To build our main base, we're going to need a lot more stuff. We're going to need more machines, more belts, more inserters, more everything. Now, we can use these little inserter groups that we set up to get us started, but that is not particularly efficient. Right now, we have to run around and hand feed things, which is not great. And we have to place things in chests for them to take out the raw ingredients. We need some iron in here. We need some more copper in here. Some more iron in there. It works, but it works slowly and inefficiently. Now, as we saw with belts for feeding the power plant, we can also belt things around, and that's what we want to do in an organized fashion. We could just run belts everywhere, but that tends to end up with something that people in Factorio call spaghetti. We have belts going every which way, they become a complete mess. So what we're going to do is we're going to build our next base right up here. This is a good location for it. It's close to our resource patches, and it's going to be convenient to when we build our main big base down here. Now, we could design the base from scratch, but that is time-consuming, or it leads to spaghetti, or both. So instead, we're going to use one that is pre-made for us. I got most of this base from a YouTuber and streamer named Catherine of Sky. If you don't know her, you should definitely check her out. She's a fantastic Factorio streamer, as well as many other things. This version is modified from her jump-off base, and I will make the blueprint for it available to you. But that brings us to blueprints. We have not really talked about them much. We talked about cut and paste. We can do Control C, select something, and then place it. But a blueprint is a more permanent thing. So these blue buttons control our blueprints. They let us create a new blueprint or a new blueprint book, and if we press the B button or one of these buttons up here, it takes us to our blueprint library. Now, your library is probably empty at the moment. Mine, as you can see, contains all sorts of things. And what we will do is we will create a new blueprint book that is going to be for this playthrough. So I'm going to click New Blueprint Book, put it right there. It's empty. I'm going to right-click it and edit it, and we're going to call this 0.17 walkthrough. So I will place any useful blueprints into this book, and then I will upload this book. As I mentioned before when we were talking about map exchange strings, you can share blueprints fairly easily. If you have a blueprint online, you can click Import String, paste it into here, and it will appear. So, this is our starter base. I'm going to click on it here, then hit B to close the blueprint book, and it will appear as this shadow outline that I can place. I can rotate it, and I will place it, and I think this is going to be a good place to place it right there. Now we have a lot of these ghost images. One of the things you might have noticed is that when I was placing it, there were these no signs, the little red circles over some of the machines. The reason for that is we don't have those recipes researched yet. When you cut and paste a blueprint of assembly machines, it copies the recipe that was assigned to it. But for these machines, we aren't able to use those recipes yet because we have not finished our research that is needed to do them. So they're empty. We could set them manually, or very conveniently, we can repaste the blueprint to get it to work. Now we're going to go through this blueprint slowly, and I will explain what it is that we're doing. If this was much later in the game and we had robots, we could have the robots build us a blueprint, but at the moment we have to do it by hand. So the first thing that this blueprint does in this section over here is it organizes our smelting. Now, our current smelting setups are very, very simple. We have a mining drill, and it just feeds into a smelter, and then we pick it up and we add coal by hand. We really don't want to do that. We want to do this all with automation. That's kind of the purpose of Factorio, is to automate things. So this is over here we have some inputs. If you use my blueprint and you do not see these symbols here, then you did not set your settings correctly. If you hit Escape, Settings, Interface, and go down to here where it says Alt Mode, make sure that Show Combination Settings in Alt Mode is checked. If you still don't see them, hit Alt and make sure you're in Alt Mode, right? Remember, in Alt Mode you see all these recipes and settings. Outside Alt Mode you do not. The Alt button or this button here toggle that. Now, these are combinators, and we don't need to worry about what combinators are right now. At the moment, all they're doing is serving as a label to remind me which input goes where. You don't ever need to build them. You can erase them once you've done, or you can leave them alone. It's up to you. They serve no function right now other than as label. Now, we have built belts. We've automated belts down here. We have not yet automated any other parts of the belt system. At any given tier, the belts, we're currently using yellow belts, let's pick up more, include the belt itself includes underground belts, and it includes splitters, and we're going to need some of each. Now, we could build an assembly machine to make those, but we're going to hold off on that because we will just produce them in that starter base we have. So for the moment, I am going to shift left click on the underground to produce as many as possible. And while that's handcrafting, I will go get some more iron. And it looks like this miner has run out, so we're gonna get rid of it. We will move it over here. Move it over here. And fill it full of coal. so that we have some more iron. And we're done with making underground belts, so we're going to also make some splitter belts. 5, 10, 15, 20 should be good. And I'm going to place these on my toolbar. This is where I like them, on my toolbar. So let's go build our starter base. The first part we're going to build is this bit of smelting here. So we're going to take an input of iron ore right into here. The underground is just to get us around the inserter. If we deleted the inserter, we would be able to get rid of it. Now, once it comes out of the inserter, we're going to split this belt using a splitter. And I would like to put the splitters on my toolbars right there. And then we're going to run it this way. The trick to drawing straight lines with belts is to hold the button and run, because drawing a straight line, I find, is very, very difficult. Let's get rid of all these. But if you just hold the mouse button down and run, you get a perfect straight line. And you can do the same thing for disassembling belts. Unfortunately, taking belts down, mining them out, or whatever you want to call it, is much more time-consuming. It's much slower. Okay. Now, we're also going to have a coal input here, because remember, we need coal. And we're going to split that as well, because we have a couple of uses for coal. And we're going to take it this way and back into a splitter. And something interesting happens. Let me take that splitter back out. Right now, if I was to feed a belt of iron ore into here, it would all make this turn and go this way. But because this piece of belt here has inputs from both sides, it turns straight. The result of that is that the input from this side, the iron, will only go on the left side of the belt, and the input from this side, the coal, will only go on the right side of the belt. Which will mean that this belt is half iron, half ore, which is awfully convenient for smelting, because it means we can get both inputs into the furnaces. We're going to need some more materials, and we're going to especially need some more furnaces. And if I remember correctly, there were some down here. We were building some right in our patch over here. Yep, there's 50 stone furnaces. We will grab them. We will grab more plates. So this here will be a line of smelters producing iron for us. And again, by holding and running, you can just drag a whole row of these. Now, we need to feed them, so we will put in inserters, and as you can see, each furnace gets an inserter. Because smelting is fairly slow, we don't need to have a lot of inserters. Yellow inserters, before we get any updates to them, swing once per second, which means it takes them one swing to put a piece of coal in and one swing to put a piece of ore into them, and that's more than fast enough, because if we look at our recipe here, it takes 3.2 seconds to smelt an iron plate. So we have 3 seconds to get those 2 swings done. We don't need more than that one inserter. The other thing we need is more power poles. So let's handcraft some more power poles, and we will place them here. As you saw with inserters, we individually place them. Power poles are neat. If you place one over a blueprint, hold and drag, it will plop them exactly where the blueprint showed them. Okay, that doesn't work for anything but power poles, but it is really handy for power poles. So there's power. I mean, it's not connected to power yet, but we have something. And now we're going to need an output belt. Now, the output belt is set up to go into 2 different directions. Oops. And that was my bad. The output belt is set up to go into 2 different directions, and that's just part of the design of this base. And then we need an inserter to take the plates out of each smelter and place onto the belt. Now, currently we're just picking things up by hand. We don't want to do that. We want to have the inserters take it out and put it on the belt for us. Oh, and we need more inserters, so we will go grab them from down here. And this is why those are the 3 items that I set up for automation right away: inserters, belts, and assembly machines, because those are the things we need the most. Let's make sure this is well fed. We're out of plates there. And we finished our research into projectile damage. Let's take a look at what we have available to us. We don't really need turrets or walls yet, because we're not having biter problems. Electronics are great, they unlock a lot of things, but we have stuff we need before that. So the next thing we're going to do is this green, Logistics Science Pack. Currently we are using red science packs, which are called transport science packs, but very soon we're going to want the green ones as well. Alright, let's continue building this out. Personally, I find placing the inserters to be the tedious part of this, but, you know, it has to be done. Do we have more mining drills? We have a few. Let's handcraft some more electric mining drills, and let's get our inputs into here. So, we are going to go back down to our resource patches, and we're going to start some proper mining. And the way we do proper mining is we place... we want to get a lot of resources onto the belt, so we're going to place electric mining drills like so, and we're going to have them output onto a belt. And this belt can then go to our resource area. Let's wait for a few more to complete. We don't need to do a huge amount, but we do want some. Now, we do need to power this, so we can get some power right there. Okay. And so we've got 8 drills providing a little bit of iron ore. And we can take this belt and we can drag it up. And again, I'm just holding the button and running with the belt. And then when we get to our destination, is this the right level? We can run it back there. And we will get iron ore coming in. And the other thing we want to bring in is coal. So let's run coal. Coal is down over this way. Okay. Now we already have a coal line going. So what we're going to do is we're going to run it off here, and we're going to put in a splitter. So a splitter can take one input, turn it into 2 outputs, take 2 outputs, take 2 inputs and shove them together into 1 input, and it also balances. If you have both inputs and outputs connected, it balances the 2 out. It also has several very important features if you click on it, and that's the ability to set input or output priority. Now this coal line is feeding our power plants, and it's going to go to our smelters. It is really important that we never lose power. So we're going to say output priority to the right, and you'll see there's a little arrow that forms right there. And what that means is if there's not enough coal coming in, it'll always go to the power plants before it goes to the base. And that's a good thing to do with coal, because we really don't want to lose power. So let's take a look at what happens up here. So we've got iron coming in, and because of this setup where we split the balance like so, it's only coming into one side of the belt. Once the coal gets up here, it'll go on the other side of the belt. Let's give it a few seconds and let it catch up. Here it comes. And it will place it onto the other side. And this is a setup we will see used very often. People sometimes call it kissing splitters because you have these two splitters kind of facing each other. And as you can see now, we have this double belt. If we get our power and run it down to the power plant, and again, remember with power lines, if you hold and drag, it'll automatically put them at max distance. Oh, I went too far. I only actually wanted to go to here, but that's okay. We'll have a use for that. Let's drag these power poles out this way. Do we have enough? No, we need to make more. Oh, we are out of wood. We'll go down this way and get some wood. As I mentioned before, wood is one of those things where early in the game you need a lot of it and it's annoying to get it and you want more of it close in. Later in the game, you don't need it at all and it's mostly just in the way. So I selected a not very wooded area because I did not want to spend a lot of time chopping down trees. Alright, let's make a whole bunch of power poles and run back. And while we're down here, we always want to grab our resources because we're here and it saves us a run. And as you can see, since we're not actually doing anything, the iron belt is backing up. That's not going to last very long. Alright, I wanted to run this line of power poles right here. Oh, there's a rock there. There, now we have power, which means our smelters will start to work. As you can see, they're being loaded with both iron ore and coal from the belt, and then they're outputting plates onto the output belt. Now here's a really important thing to notice, and that's that the inserters are putting all of the plates on this side of the belt. That is a key thing to note in Factorio. An inserter will pick up from either side of the belt. It prefers to pick up from the near side if the same materials are available on both, but it will grab from both. However, the output always goes on the opposite side of the belt from the inserter. When we looked at mining drills before, they output to the near side. So this belt is outputting on the right side. This one is outputting on the left, and because the left side is backed up, it's not doing anything. But inserters are the opposite. They place on the far side of the belt. It's an important thing to note in Factorio. Now, as we know, we need a lot of iron, so we're going to go the other way as well. So we will use this to duck under some of these other belts. The kissing splitters give us a split belt going this way and a split belt going this way. Nope, and we're out of belts. Let's go grab more belts. Okay, we were down here. So we're gonna run this line to here. Now, one other thing this map has is lights. We have not been making lights, we don't have any iron plates handy, but we really should make a bunch of lights real soon, because when it is dark, it is much nicer to play this with lights. They let us see. And again, I'm gonna hold and drag the power poles, and now we're producing more iron, and as you can see, these are outputting to the other side of the belt. So this is one of the very important things in Factorio, is that if you are wanting to get as much material onto a belt as possible, to have a fully saturated belt, the easiest thing to do is to run your production facilities on both sides and just output to both sides. We finished logistics research, so you can see this opened up some research that requires both red and green science packs. We don't have green ones yet, so now we're going to go back and pick up some of these other red ones. Turrets are a great defense method, and we will use that in a bit. Alright, so now that we have iron, we also need to get some copper. This is our copper input. And copper works very similarly. Now, over there we used the kissing inserter approach because we wanted the lines to go in both directions. It's not the only way to do it. So we can take the output of this splitter to take our coal down here. We'll put in a splitter here because we want some coal for something else. But what we're going to do is we're going to output onto the belt like so. Now, by having inputs from both sides, it puts it only on one side. We didn't need to use splitters because we're not interested in going back the other way. This piece is not strictly necessary unless you did it in a different order. So if we had... Let's drop the blueprint again. Here's our starter base. Right? Zoom out. To get the lineup correctly, I usually pick like a corner to line up. And when everything turns blue, I know that I've got the alignment right. So here's our inserters here. If we didn't have this piece here, and we started by bringing in this, it just went on both sides of the belt. We don't want that. So by having it like that, it tells the system ahead of time, nope, don't turn this belt. Once we have it coming in from both, we can get rid of it if we want to save a belt. Now, the copper setup is exactly the same as the iron setup, except since we need a lot less, we're only going to do one side of it. We're not going to do both sides. And we're out, which is fine. We will go get some more. And while we're at it, let's get a line of copper in. Turrets have finished. Stone walls are our other big defensive item. We're gonna jump over this line. Now, with undergrounds, the first one you put down is always the input. So if I put them down like this and mouse over it, you can see that the arrows go the wrong way. Now, I can solve that in two ways. I can place this one first and then this one second, and now the arrows are going the right way. Or while mousing over it, I can press the R button, and that will reverse it. It's not the same as with a belt, where you can turn it any which way. All you can do with an R is point one way or the other way. So our copper is over there. Let's come this way. We'll jump over that line, and this is part of that effect that ends up with spaghetti, where you have lines crossing and uncrossing, and we'll work to minimize that later on. Alright, let's get some better mining of copper. And stone walls finished. Let's get our weapon shooting speed. That's gonna improve our guns a little bit more. We're gonna run this out this way for now. We will clean this up later, which are famous last words in Factorio. Everything you do temporarily now has a tendency to end up being a permanent fixture later, but in this case it really is a temporary thing. I just don't want to take down these until we have some smelting of both going on. Okay, so that'll bring some copper into the base. And I forgot to go get stone furnaces. Okay, I picked up some more furnaces and also put down a few more mining drills for iron and things of that nature. Okay, and now we have copper. One of the things we can do here is look in our inventory. We will see that it's full of stuff. We don't really need all this stuff in our hands, so we can take the copper ore and control click it into one of these furnaces, similarly the iron ore into one of these surfaces. We can take our coal and control click and run into these furnaces just to get it out of our inventory. Now, if we need more resources, one of the quick ways to get it, press F to pick things up, and if you press F while running down the belt, you can pick up the belt, and now we have a bunch of iron. Let's grab some more, because I want to refill the machines down below before we move on to our next piece of construction. And if you remember, these were empty before, but when we reapplied the blueprint, when we were working on this corner, by then we had the green science research, so it updated for us. Let's make sure we have some iron here. Now, while we're at it, let's check our power usage. We're at about half capacity. You can see that satisfaction is full, but the production is hovering around half. And that's because we're running more mining drills and more inserters, so it's probably the right moment to build a little bit more power capacity. We will build 2, 3, 4 boilers and all the steam engines we can. We need a little bit more iron because we also need some more pipes. Well, the fastest way to get iron right now is to steal it from the belt. So we want 2 more of these, and we want some pipes. Once that's done, we will upgrade that system. Alright, so over here, we're going to produce some of our intermediate products and some of our other useful products. So we're going to build this belt here. And this is going to be another split belt. On one side, we're going to place iron. Okay, and again, by using this extra little bit, we're only putting it on half. If it was not there, we would end up with the production on both sides. So we're gonna pick this up and clear the belt. Now, we have copper over here, so we need to make our basic resources. Let's start with belts. So we can place one of our machines here, and again, because we're using the recipes, it automatically puts in the recipe. Now, as we recall, this requires iron gears and iron plates. Well, it'll grab iron plates there, and so I placed the machine in the wrong spot by hitting, and that erased the blueprint. By hitting Control Z as an undo, it restored the blueprint and put a little red X over this machine so I can pick it back up and drop it in the right place. And we need power. Let's run these power locations. Okay, and we're gonna put this box here where it will output it. And the box in the blueprint was already limited, so we don't have to worry about it again. And we need these inserters here. Now, what we would really like here is a blue inserter, which is a fast inserter, but we do not have one yet, so we will put a regular yellow one, and maybe we'll remember to upgrade it. Maybe not. And now we've got our belts being produced and placed in a box, and no running around. It's just coming from this line, which is being fed automatically. Very handy. So, we have accomplished quite a bit in this episode. We've got the start on our first fully automated base, what I like to call the starter base or the jump-off base. We've got iron ore smelting, we've got copper ore smelting, we've got coal in, and we will be ready to complete this base in the next episode. So, in the meanwhile, why don't you go ahead and try one of these? And, as usual, don't forget to save.